Hello everyone. I just thought I'd do a short video just to catch up with everyone and share a few insights. You might hear my air conditioner in the background whirring and doing its thing, partly why I have the laptop so close so you can hear me properly. But yeah, so my last couple of videos were all about Saudi Arabia, what it's like to live in Saudi Arabia, my experience of getting stranded in the desert. If you haven't seen those two videos, you should check them out. You can go to my channel and go into videos, and you should be able to find them pretty easily. But yeah, I thought I'd just share some more insights and things that I'm learning, things that are inspiring me and giving me energy to move forward with my life and take advantage of all the opportunities out there. Recently, I came across something which I found really interesting, which was the James F Eaton papers at Whitman College. For those of you who've never heard of him, which is probably 99% of you, James F Eaton, or James Francis Eaton, was the second president of Whitman College in Walla Walla, Washington. And he was my great-great-grandfather, James Francis Eaton. He was actually a minister, a Congregationalist, I believe, minister, and he was the president of the college, and I think at one point he was a professor of ancient languages. Really fascinating guy, amazing guy, and yeah, what I did was I found out that there was this collection of papers on James F. Eaton at Whitman College, and I paid them to scan these images, these letters and other documents that they have, and send them to me via an attachment. And I've been reading through them, and I've found a lot of really sort of poignant quotes, really pithy and inspiring and wise quotations from my great-great-grandfather. And yeah, one of them which I've put on a card so that I can read it and it can keep inspiring me. I can put this up on my wall. I sometimes put inspirational quotes on my wall so that they can continue to remind me and inspire me every day and just give me, that extra boost of inspiration to keep me going. So if you can't read that, or if it appears backwards or something, it says, "Do right and fear nothing is a good rule to go by, and there is need of men and women who are right and fearless. Suffering is the penalty and price every worthy life demands." James F. Eaton, June 13th, 1892. So that's one of his inspirational quotes that I'll just put there so that you can read it if you need to read it, unless it appears backwards. Yeah, some other key points from him. A school with 50 earnest students is better than one with 100 shiftless ones. So that was his take. You better have quality students. Another quote, "But it would seem to be better to be true to oneself. To be true to one's sense of right and duty than to be popular, if both cannot go together, as they often have not in the case of good men and women." I'll read that again, just so that you have it correctly in full. "But it would seem to be better to be true to one's sense of right and duty than to be popular, if both cannot go together, as they often have not in the case of good men and women." James Francis Eaton, farewell address as president of Whitman College, 1894. And another interesting quote: "It is wise, you know, to push open doors you find ajar. It is not wise to break through any." James F. Eaton, December 2nd, 1892. There's another one interesting as well, but let's just take a brief break. I'll show you a picture or two of James F. Eaton, just so you can see who he was. I've turned off the air conditioning as well, just so that we don't have as much noise distraction at the moment. Just enjoying some chamomile tea, Lipton chamomile tea, if Lipton ever decides to sponsor me at any point, or as they say in Arabic, I believe it is baboonage, at least according to my Hansver Dictionary of Arabic, herbal infusion. So yes, as we were saying, James F. Eaton talks about a few different points, such as that it is better to have 50, what did he say, 50 earnest students. A school with 50 earnest students is better than one with 100 shiftless ones. So in other words, it's better to have students who are, what could we say, dedicated students, instead of students who are lazy, indolent, lacking in motivation or drive. Okay, the other quotation he said, or I quoted from him, was, it would seem to be better to be true to one's sense of right and duty than to be popular. So everybody has their own moral code, their own beliefs about what is right and what is wrong. And James Francis Eaton had a very strong sense of what was right and what was moral. And of course, he was a Christian minister, so he believed in the New Testament, the Gospels, the Bible, and he followed the teachings of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, and tried to put those into practice. So yeah, it would seem to be better to be true to one's sense of right and duty than to be popular. Being popular is not as important as being right and being moral and being good. If both cannot go together, as they often have not in the case of good men and women, and he talks about his own example. The quotation that I showed you, I have removed part of it just to fit it onto this card. But the full quotation from his letter is, "Do right and fear nothing is a good rule to go by, and there is need of men and women who are right and fearless. I can say that I have never regretted standing firmly for what I believed right, even though at times it has cost much suffering. Suffering is the penalty and price every worthy life demands." So, you may do something that is unpopular. You may do something that people don't like, people don't approve of, and it may cost you. You may lose money, you may suffer in some way for doing what is right, but ultimately, the most important thing is that you have done what is right and that you are fearless in carrying it out. Be fearless. Do right and fear nothing. You know, that as what is his name? Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, said, "There is nothing to fear but fear itself." Fear nothing. Be fearless. Do the right thing. Okay? A final quotation I'd like to share is one from Cicero. One where he mentions Cicero. He actually does quote Cicero. He says, quote, Cicero speaks of the loving remembrance of himself in the hearts of the coming generations of his countrymen as a monument more lasting than bronze. On the other hand, who remembers A.T. Stewart, who 20 years ago was extolled as a wonderful example of a successful man? He lived for himself. His body even was stolen after death, that a ransom might be wrung out of his well-kept millions. No mention of him now reaches the public, save in connection with wretched wrangling over the division of what he left. Who cares for Commodore Vanderbilt? Or the Astors? Who will mourn when Jay Gould dies? Doubtless, hundreds of thousands will rejoice on that day, and his name will perish. The recent deeds of Stanford, Rockefeller, and Carnegie will be all that will keep their names from oblivion. But enough! The world abounds with such examples. James F. Eaton, statement to the people of Walla Walla. It was reported in a newspaper. So, that is essentially talking about greed and wealth and the accumulation of riches for the sake of accumulating riches. He wasn't a fan of accumulating riches for the sake of accumulating riches. And yep, he didn't seem to approve of Commodore Vanderbilt, the Astors, and A.T. Stewart, who I've never heard of before. So maybe he was right. No one will remember this A.T. Stewart. I don't know who he is. You can look him up, find out about him. He seems to approve, sort of Stanford, Rockefeller, and Carnegie as they, gave millions and millions of dollars to charity. At least Rockefeller and Carnegie did. I'm not sure about Stanford. I haven't read about him. So yeah, those are some key things to learn from my great-great-grandfather. And certainly I would like his name to be remembered, which is one reason I've made this video, just to remind the world, to tell the world, to spread the message of James Francis Eaton, and how that is inspiring me as well, because I want to be, in some respects, more like him. I want to have a fearless character. I want to always choose right, do right, and fear nothing. That's a tremendous motto to have, guys. So if you don't have this motto in your life, if this isn't the guiding principle in your life already, to do right and fear nothing, then it should be. Okay? Do right and fear nothing is a good motto to have. It's a good rule to go by, and there is need of men and women who are right and fearless. Are you right? Are you fearless? If you are, then go ahead, move ahead with your life. Do what's right, whether that is to build your own business because you want to provide for your family, or whether it is to give to charity, or whether it is to go out and find a way to serve the world or spread a good message, or as in the case of my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, to teach good values and to teach religion and to spread education and to run a college in the most responsible and moral way possible. So that's just something for you guys to think about this weekend, and just a positive message for you. So I'll end with those words. Do right and fear nothing.